Let's see if the mics are on. You can hear me well. Yes, good. And we are on time, which is even better. So on behalf of EFSA and the Advisory Group on Data, welcome to this symposium. It's a first, this symposium on data readiness for artificial intelligence. My name is Nick Krisch. I'm the head of department for risk assessment services at EFSA. We call the department Enable because we want to enable risk assessment production. That means within the department there is scientific methods and scientific support, but also iData, the unit that provides data governance, data management. And already this symposium is a success because you have all made it. We planned this data symposium to address the deluge of data. In fact, we find ourselves having a deluge of water. And I hope you all stay reasonably dry during these 2 days. I found that, by the way, for housekeeping purposes, the toilets are all the way down the back. You go past the fitness room in case you need to sort of work out a little bit, and the stireria, which is an ironing room in case you feel a bit crumpled and need to iron some of your clothes. We talked about deluge of data, and I think the important thing here is, I liked that quote, I think it's David Humby that had that, where they say, data is the new oil. Valuable, but not really useful unless it's refined. Again, on the topic of data readiness and data readiness for AI. We have some very high-class speakers here. We're very fortunate, and thank you very much for coming. And obviously a very high-class audience who I ask to be as interactive as possible. This is, yes, it's called a symposium, but it has the nature of interactivity. Please raise your hand when you have questions. Please interact with all the speakers, because that's the point, to come to a way forward. And that's also the scope of this symposium, that we create a network of stakeholders, that we discuss AI opportunities and challenges, and discuss how we can become ready for the topic of AI. We're all facing that, whether it's on this side or on the other side of the Atlantic, and we will hear from Tucker Patterson in a second, whether it's within a small or a large member state, we're all facing these challenges. And if we band together to discuss and make the best use of the opportunities, that will surely be good for us. The outcome of this symposium will be used by the Advisory Group on Data to create project initiative with the member states, but to also review its roadmap for future work. So that's very important. And last but not least, please be aware that the symposium will be recorded, so also afterwards, or if you wish to distribute it to interested members of your staff, that should be possible, so that we get as wide a distribution as possible. They told me to keep it short in order to allow time for the really interesting stuff. So let me say once again, welcome to all of you. And let me introduce the first keynote speaker, who is Tucker Patterson. Tucker is the Center Director for the FDA's National Center for Toxicological Research, to be precise, in Arkansas, Little Rock, Arkansas, where a famous president came from, if I'm not mistaken now. And Tucker has flown across the Atlantic from, I hear, Antigua. So I'm sorry also that you had to forgo sunshine and tropical temperatures and come to Parma, but I'm very, very pleased, Tucker, that you come to us and that you can tell us about the experiences with AI, with machine learning at the FDA. Please, over to you. Thank you, and please welcome Tucker with a show of claps. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so I know that Claudia has me on a tight schedule, so I'm going to go ahead and get started here. But I certainly thank everyone for being here. I thank EFSA for the invitation. When Didier and Vittoria approached me a few months ago to come, I said I would relish the opportunity to return to Parma. I was here in September of 23 for the ILMERAC and then the Global Summit on Regulatory Science, which we just recently had last month in Little Rock. So I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the challenges, yet the focus more on the opportunities that we have in this field of artificial intelligence in data science in the regulatory space. I do have to point out my disclaimer there. Of course, they make us put that on all of our presentations, that this is my opinion, and I'm not speaking on behalf of the FDA. They would hate that. So I want to provide you just kind of an overview of the agency. I know some of you probably have had a lot of experience, a lot of interactions with the Food and Drug Administration, but I do want to tell you about our diverse applications and our responsibilities that we have across the agency. We're a very large agency now, approximately 18,000 federal employees within the agency. But when you consider that we regulate now about 1/4 of every dollar that's spent on the GDP in the U.S. Is a product that is regulated by the FDA. So a pretty strong mandate from our government. I'm going to really approach this from two aspects. How do we regulate a product containing AI, and how do we facilitate the FDA's operation through this regulatory science research with AI? And then I want to focus on what we're doing at our facility at NCTR, which is located in Jefferson, Arkansas. So again, looking at the mission here, I want to focus on, not only the safety, but the efficacy and security of our drugs, our biological products, medical devices. You see food supply, cosmetics, products that emit irradiation, that all falls under the FDA umbrella in the States. And we're also responsible, again, where this type of conference comes in, this kind of symposium, we want to help speed these innovations. How do we get these things to market? How do we get them out there for use, not only by our agency, but just the general population? We want accurate science-based information. We live in a society of misinformation now, especially scientific misinformation, which clouds the public perception of what is real, what is not. And we really need to combat that better. And we also play a significant role in counterterrorism capability, also looking at the security of the food supply, medical products, and respond to these deliberate and also these naturally emerging public health threats. Many of you may be aware the state of Florida was hit with 2 hurricanes within the last month. And during that, we had 2/3 of our companies. We only have 3 companies in the U.S. that produce sterile IV products for surgical applications. 2 of those companies were located right in the path of the hurricanes. So we had to address almost an 80% loss of, IV solutions for surgical procedures. And the FDA had to figure out what we were going to do in that brief time. So I want to focus a little bit about just the organization in general, because recently the FDA went through its largest reorganization in history, and this was effective our start of our fiscal year on October 1st. So NCTR is located under the Office of the Chief Scientist. The Office of the Chief Scientist, used to oversee. NCTR was their primary, group under their umbrella. We have close to 300 employees, and that was almost of the 400 that was under the Office of Chief Scientist. But now there's been a reorganization. So we have a lot of medical product labs that have separated now from the food labs, and they've come under that umbrella. So now the Office of Chief Scientist has a little over 800 employees. And you can see the diversity even there with cosmetics and colors, which used to be part of CFSAN, the Center for Food Safety. So it's now under the Office of Chief Scientist, and a lot of the medical product labs, the forensic chemistry lab in Massachusetts, the forensics lab in Cincinnati are now all under the Office of Chief Scientist. So within NCTR, I want to focus on really the bottom tier there, because our 6 research divisions, that's our boots on the ground people. That's the ones developing, AI, using AI in the laboratory, especially our division of biostatistics and bioinformatics there, the very last one there. And a lot of the work that we're doing in the AI space is coming out of that division. But that division works hand in hand with the other research divisions to try to develop these tools to address issues. So quickly, just showing you our staff, we have about 286 government employees, which is about 1.5% of the total FDA. We are the research arm of the agency. We've been there since 1971, so we have over a 50-year history. And for those of you who are geographically challenged like I am, looking at maps, Arkansas is the red state there, almost in the central part of the country, just west of the Mississippi River. And again, there's a reason we're there, but I won't get into that history. But if somebody wants to talk to me about some of our history prior to NCTR, I would be happy to talk to you about that. But you can see on the left there on the pie chart, we work for the product centers. So we actually sometimes know more what the product centers are doing than people within their product centers, because they're so large, and we work with all the pockets of the scientists there within the product centers. And so, but we're typically have been drug centric. So we do most of our work for CDER, the Center for Drugs, but we also work for all the other centers. So just a little bit about our expertise. So, we're not just working in the AI space. We have a long history of guideline studies through the National Toxicology Program. We have a bioimaging facility when we can conduct any type of imaging that you would see in a hospital setting, but we can do that in an animal population. We have our inhalation tox, our nanotechnology core, which now with the nanoplastics issue and nanoplastics, in food, you see all these studies that are coming out now saying that nanoplastics are in cardiac tissue. So we're addressing that as well. And then you see the laundry list of scientific expertise there on the right. So prior to October 1st, this is what the FDA looked like. You can see the various centers there, and then us at the bottom, the National Center for Toxicological Research. But as of October 1st, we no longer have the Center for Foods. We no longer have the Office of Regulatory Affairs. Anyone that was doing foods-related work now has moved into the Human Foods Program. So we have all our colleagues that you have dealt with through ILMIRAC and CIFSAN are now under this Human Foods Program. But I do want to point out, for us, the definition of regulatory science kind of varies as you move across the globe. But we look at this as developing new tools and standards and approaches to assess safety, efficacy, and quality and performance of these FDA-regulated products, which again, run the gamut of the products that are out there on the market. So let's look at challenges and opportunities of AI for the FDA. So we have the new technologies, they hold significant promise, but multiple steps are really necessary. They're required to translate this into regulatory use. So of course we have context of use, we have predictability, reproducibility, quality control. All of these have to be addressed when you're looking at the challenges, but also the opportunities within the agency. So how do we regulate a product that contains AI? We're doing this, and I want to give you some examples. The Center for Devices and Radiological Health, of course, any type of medical devices, wearables now are a big thing. We have watches that tell us, how many steps we took, what our heart rate is, maybe blood pressure. So all of these are coming through the agency. So CDRH has authorized now 950 AI ML enabled medical devices, and they've developed several guidance documents. I have a couple there on the left, on AI ML based software as a medical device. CDER, the number of drug applications that are incorporating these types of elements have increased drastically in the past 5 years. One of the recent articles that came out, you can see here in early October in Radiology Business, we have the FDA's Total Product Life Cycle Advisory Program. You have to learn acronyms when you work for the FDA. That is one of the most frustrating things, because we have acronyms in some centers that are different than the same acronym in another center. So you have to figure out, which center is using this acronym to figure out what it is. But very, very frustrating, and it takes years to master that if you ever do. But FDA initially piloted this project in 2023 for cardiology and neurology, but more recently they've expanded it to include radiology and ophthalmology, and then we're going to move into orthopedic devices in 2025. So The TAP program has enrolled 46 breakthrough devices so far, and CDRH is really excited to continue expanding this to cover innovators and devices in these new clinical areas. So, how to regulate a product that contains AI. You can see that CDER has formed really an artificial intelligence council, was established in this year. And they want them to serve as the executive review and decision-making board for oversight of all of these CDER AI initiatives. Of course, CDER is the one within the agency that carries the big stick. I mean, drugs really dominate the FDA. CDER probably has 8,000 of the 18,000 employees that are within the agency are housed within the Center for Drugs. They want to use this group to coordinate, support, promote consistency of both internal and external AI-related activities. And they want to use them as appropriate to oversee certain activities, including their internal AI capabilities. So talent, technology, data, these policy initiatives for regulatory decision making, and so guidance development. And you can see this article, I believe this was in Clinical Pharmacology and Therapeutics that came out in 2023. So CDER's also released 2 discussion papers on AI application, and you'll have access to this if you need to contact me. Feel free if you want any of these references. So the AI Governance and Advisory Board was developed in March of this year. And so this was really a mandate from the Office of Management and Budget, which oversees all of government, not just the FDA. But they directed the agencies, they want to advance AI governance and innovation while managing the risk. We all know there's risk involved here with using AI, particularly in cases affecting the rights or safety of the public. So we now have a Chief Artificial Intelligence Officer. Ram Iyer is the FDA CAIO, another acronym for you, who is chairing the FDA AI Governance and Advisory Board. And so I meet with Ram about once a month just to try to flesh out issues in this space. So you can see what the purpose of this governance board is. It's going to advance the safe, ethical, and effective deployment of AI technologies at FDA. And so we want this board to provide, guidance, recommendations to help us implement this. But the complex nature of AI in the regulatory landscape, we all know it's extremely complex. So we have cultural and regional differences drive different regulatory frameworks. I mean, you deal with that right here within the EU. We have different agencies that have different policies. We have several regulatory agencies within the U.S., and so all of them look at this space in a different way. Not all the products are created equal. Some may require more stringent policy for AI application. And then finally, how do we translate this AI research into a regulatory application? And so we have to have validation and qualification. So this actually should be question 2. I just noticed that this morning. No matter how many times you look at your slides, you always find something. But this is question 2 for you. How to improve our agency's operation through regulatory science research? And again, pointing out the definition there of regulatory science. So the AI projects at NCTR, if you've ever heard Dr. Wita Tong, who's our Division Director of Bioinformatics and Biostatistics, you've probably seen this initiative. And again, I thought this was a very catchy for the U.S. anyway, the Air Force, the AI research force. And so these 4 initiatives are what we're addressing at NCTR. And so since most of you are probably representing regulatory environment within the food space, I did want to point out some AI for food safety that we did with the Office of Regulatory Affairs a few years ago. This was in 2019 that we had 2 projects that were completed in collaboration. One is for species identification. So the FDA actually has entomologists that are employed that look through boxes of cereal and bags of rice and things that they pull off the shelf, and they look for bug parts. So insect parts, sometimes these insects are toxic, sometimes they're not. So we wanted to come up with could we help them by creating a method that would screen these parts and identify what type of insect it was that they were looking at, just by parts off the wings. In this case, it was beetle wings. And so these bugs are typically fragmented, and so with this deep learning model, we could use image analysis to identify what species that the product contained. And then the other project addressed the persistent organic pollutants. And of course, these compounds make their way to the animal food and feed. And so when animals consume these, they make their way to humans. And so we can use actually MS, some mass spectrometry to detect the POPs in the feed, and then we apply a machine learning method to screen for these persistent organic pollutants. So a couple of successful projects in the food space using AI. So looking at the AI program for tox, this again is another NCTR initiative. We have large language models for looking at documents. We have safety AI, animal GAN that many of you may have heard about. If you've heard Dr. Tong discuss that, we look at trans AI, and now we have pathologic AI, which is an AI-driven digital pathology for looking at preclinical histopathology images. One of the things when I was talking with Didier and Vittoria about collaborative mechanisms, how do we collaborate not only with our academic partners, other government partners, and also with industry? Well, our primary collaborative mechanisms are material data transfer agreements that we have research collaboration agreements, and we have what we call cooperative research and development agreements, which are a little bit more problematic to get approved, but they do because they usually involve funds being exchanged. If no funds are being exchanged, it's usually pretty easy to interact and collaborate with a government entity. It's when those funds are going back and forth that's when it gets a little bit more tricky. But there are mechanisms in place to be able to collaborate, excuse me, with our industry partners. So kind of moving into that vein, let's look at some virtual animal models to generate animal study results with generative AI. So we know that animal work is decreasing. We have a very big push in the States now to start using more AI type applications, more microphysiological systems, organs on a chip to get away from that. So Dr. Tong and his group developed animal GAN, and so by looking at the chemical structure, treatment duration, and dose, they basically generated a virtual rat. And so they tested compounds that were there in the literature but were not used as part of the training data set. And they had about an 85% concordance on predicting these clinical pathology measurements that you see there at the bottom, the outcome there. So very good success there. And so the reason I point this out is because now we're in collaboration with Parma, where we can try to improve on this virtual rat. So we test these proprietary compounds through various mechanisms. You see that I mentioned the RCA. We have one with AbbVie. We have an RCA with Boehringer, and we have an MTA with GlaxoSmithKline. And so we can kind of go back and forth and get feedback from pharma to try to improve the output from this animal GAN. And you can see the application there is to support drug development and also to facilitate drug safety review at the agency. And we're also working with the public. I mean, this became very popular probably about 10 years ago, the whole crowdsourcing thing. Let's put something out there, a question, and there are people that just love to peruse the internet and say, oh, look, here's a problem that I could work on. And so this was actually, Precision FDA was established in 2016 as a computational platform, really dealing with the omics data when we talk about big data and how much data was being generated through different omics experiments. And so it's evolved now to address challenges associated with digital technologies such as AI and ML. And we have 41 challenges that have been launched. And if you just Google Precision FDA, you'll find a lot of information there. And so we're now conducting a Democratizing and Demystifying AI Challenge series. And we're going to explore and illustrate how AI can support FDA's missions. And I think we have over 5,000 users now globally within Precision FDA that are working on these challenges. So moving into more of the drug review, which that's what we've really focused on more recently, we want to try to develop a set of AI models for safety endpoints that are critical. And of course, we all know that liver toxicity is the primary toxicity that you see with new drug compounds. And so we've now looked at deep DILI, which is drug-induced liver injury. We have deep CART for carcinogenicity, deep AIMS for mutagenicity, deep cardio, and deep kidney for nephrotoxicity. So we've published several papers on that. So we have this pool of machine learning models now that we can try to assess, risk in this. And another question that was posed to me is with data sharing, we know that's problematic as well. So again, our computer scientist people have gotten together and figured out a way to put data out there, what they call in a sandbox environment. So we have an innovation board there at Cedar, and they've approved this sandbox because even within the agency, they don't want to share data. I mean, Cedar receives this drug applications, it's proprietary information, but they can put this data in this sandbox environment that we really can't take it out of there, but we have access to that. We can put the tools in the sandbox and then work with it and then have some type of output from that. So you see this RAPID is what it's called, Real World Application Platform for Innovation and Development. It's managed by Cedar with both IT and administrative support. And these AI algorithms can be tested on regulatory data to assess value within the agency without, again, us really accessing the data or Cedar accessing the tool. So we're going to hopefully deploy this FDA-wide, and we'll be able to look at, across all the centers, not just the Center for Drugs. So our pilot in RAPID is to define a context of use. So our objective here is to assist in the IND review, the new drug application review of a new drug candidates. So you can see the key considerations there: prediction accuracy, applicability domain, prediction confidence. We want to address all of those things. And, should a model be treated as a static or evolving model over the new data? Of course, the better the data, the more accurate the model is going to be. And so, we're looking at that. You can see where a submission comes in. If it's negative, we continue normally. If we see some positive issues there, then we're going to alert the reviewers with that additional data. We're asked quite a bit, especially from the Cedar side. We'll get a chemical structure, and they'll want us to assess its probability of having liver toxicity, having hepatotoxicity. So we're consulted quite often on these types of issues. But again, we're not looking at all the data there. We're only looking at structural data. So hopefully, with more data, with more accurate data, we'll be able to build better models. So I want to finish up just talking about the FDA ISTAN, Innovative Science and Technology Approaches for New Drugs. So to qualify drug development tools that don't fit the definition of a biomarker in clinical outcome assessment, so you're looking at computational approaches, you're looking at scientific tools and technologies that use human biology to predict human outcomes to help produce and replace animal testing as part of drug development. So this qualification is intended to provide a pathway for new non-animal approaches. So we all know about NAMs and the push for that. And so, can we qualify these? And once qualified, the drug development tool will be available to use in any drug development program for the qualified context of use. And so these applications would not have to, without needing FDA to reconsider and reconfirm its suitability. And in September of this year, Cedar accepted the first letter of intent into the ISTAN pilot program for an organ-on-a-chip technology. This is a liver-on-a-chip microphysiological system to study drug-induced liver injury for certain drug candidates. So it has been slow to be adopted, but we're moving in that direction. And so you see that this will assess the risk of drug-induced liver injury in adults to create relevant data for drugs investigational new drug submission. And I want to close this afternoon showing you that, how serious the FDA is about AI. And so we have a conference coming up on the 12th and 13th of next month that's being supported by the commissioner, our new principal deputy commissioner, Dr. Namanje Bumpus, who was my former boss. She was the chief scientist, and also the director of the Center for Drugs, Dr. Patrizia Cavazzoni. So again, very much moving forward in this space. And I'll just close with, FDA is responsible for regulating a broad range of consumer products. You saw the portfolio that we have. We know that AI has diverse applications across all the centers, and these challenges are twofold, the way we see them, and we've got several mechanisms now in place to facilitate these collaborative efforts along with the public, with industry, and with academia. And so I'll finish there. Thank you, Nick.
Should be on. Now it's okay?
There you go. Yeah.
You can hear me well? Good. Thank you very much. See, there's also a deluge of abbreviations. We have the same. I'm a vet by training, and it took me, I think, 3 years to get used to AI, not being avian influenza, but artificial intelligence.
That's right. Yeah, same
I'm
here.
there now with my job, but it took a while. Are there any questions? I'm sure there must be. So we have here one in the back. Please, can you ask your question? Somebody's coming with the microphone.
Hi there, Will O'Sullivan from Crown Global. A quick question about the RAPID. Is that data that is kind of put into that sandbox FOIA-able?
No, it's not.
Okay,
Yeah,
interesting.
no,
By what kind of mechanism does it kind of avoid what is a pretty big pitfall for sharing data around,
Right,
safety of
right.
drugs?
Yeah, because that data is coming from under the CEDAR umbrella, and so this is proprietary information that's being submitted as part of INDs or NDAs. So that is not FOIable until things are, it's not even FOIable after a drug comes onto the market. I mean, the company has control of that data, and they can choose whether FDA shares that data outside the agency or not. That's their call.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
I admit my ignorance, and maybe I shared that with some members. So just to be clear, FOIable.
Yeah, so the Freedom of Information Act within the U.S. So yeah,
Accessible via freedom
yes,
of information.
yes, because
FOIable.
it's because it's
see, there you
government.
go.
Yes,
I learned something new again. FOIable, Freedom of Information Actable. Thank you. Any other question for Taka? Yes, there in the back. Please, Natalie.
Thank you very much. I thought that was very interesting. Your first question about how to regulate products containing AI, you said you've certified 950 products. I was wondering if you could give us a bit of a sneak preview of what sort of questions you ask or how that process actually goes.
Yeah, so that's under the Center for Devices and Radiological Health, who probably have advanced this area more than any other center, because I think with them they work really hand in hand with industry a lot more than the other product centers do. For some reason, the agency doesn't see that as a conflict of interest as much when it comes to devices and wearables and things like that as they do, maybe it's a harm, mechanism or not, but they work closely with industry, and, I would say that, was it close to 1,000 there. So trying to see how to best answer your question there. I just know that they have a lot more at stake with the industry partners than any other product centers. And so they have a hand in, I think, a lot more back and forth in those decisions on when they start seeing the data that's being submitted. And it's just a quicker interaction with them for some reason than it is for the other product centers like Center for Drugs and Center for Foods. Yeah.
Thank you. Further question? Yes, please, Philippa. Front left. Thank you, Natalie.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your interesting presentation. Relating with the complex nature of HAI in the regulatory landscape, you talk about the cultural and regional differences that drive different regulatory frameworks. And I would like to know, how do you treat the semantics and ontologies on all these issues?
Yeah. So I'm attending that breakout session tomorrow. That's a very good question, and it's extremely challenging. I mean, we just talked about before the symposium started, about what we have to deal with. Again, I think in the misinformation area, people, everybody knows ChatGPT. Hey, this is something we can get on there and do, but it doesn't take long to realize if you start putting things in, you start getting inaccuracies with that. And so then if you get inaccuracies, so what can we believe, out of, an AI, model such as that, if it is not 100% accurate? And so I think you have the people that want to push this technology forward that say, oh, well, they understand what, 85% concordance is, 90% concordance, but the general population doesn't understand that. So, with us in the U.S., the challenge is, how to get the consumer where they feel confident, in that it's going to give accurate information. And so, but yeah, it's definitely a challenge. I don't think we're there at all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I can allow one more question, please, at the back. They make you work, Natalie. Good.
Thank you. Thank you for this talk. Very interesting. Sorry for my voice. I'd be interested, as you say, you're looking at this and you have now a chief AI officer in place. When you engage in generative AI projects, do you have any type of a screening of the different models? And if so, what are these transparency requirements that you would impose?
Yeah, I'm not aware of, I know we do, but that is just not my space that I operate in. But I know we have a data governance board that I've been sitting on meetings for about 2 years now. And again, we're not talking about sharing data a lot of times outside the agency. We're talking about sharing data within our own agency that we don't have cooperation there. And so with this data governance, that's what we're trying to really overcome is what's the SOP here? What's our process of looking at these things to give us that comfort level that we can move forward with that. But yeah, very, very good question. Yeah.
Thank you. And please be aware that after this session from 6 to 8 o'clock, we have poster session and networking cocktail, where I'm sure Taka won't mind being approached for
I'm here all day tomorrow, so I'm not flying out yet.
Plus, obviously, tomorrow. So thank you again, Taka. And with this, we move to the next part, which is a real introduction of the advisory group on data and some of its leaders. With that, I asked them one by one to come up onto the stage, and I introduced them. David Foster, first up, is a leader of the Argot subgroup on tools and ecosystems. Probably the safest way up, David, is here with the stairs. I wouldn't want anybody to hurt themselves, and you go all the way to the right-hand side. Yeah. Your name should be on the chair. And a little bit more about David. He's the head of software development at the Swedish National Food Agency, and therefore has a lot of experience in developing AI models and complex data mapping solutions. Welcome to David. Bravo. Next up, Dorte Lau-Baggesen, I hope that's reasonably correct, is the leader of the Argot subgroup on people and capacity and the head of academic support at the National Food Institute of the Technical University of Denmark. She focuses on enhancing data accessibility for research and consultancy, particularly in the areas of zoonosis, food safety, and sustainable nutrition. Welcome, Dorte. Bravo. And right in the middle sits the chair of the advisory group on data, Akos Jozwiak, who leads the Department of Digital, yes, absolutely, leads the Department of Digital Food Science at the University of Veterinary Medicine in Budapest, and also Food and Nutrition Science at the Syrian Research Institute. Thank you. Then we have Eva Scharfenberg, welcome. And Eva is the leader of the Argot subgroup on data management. She's the head of data analysis and reporting unit in the Food Safety Department at the German Federal Office of Consumer Protection and Food Safety, BVL. Welcome. And having looked you all up, I have to say, Eva, I found a new term with you because I think you have sort of involvement in ecotrophology. So look that up if you're interested enough what an ecotrophologist is, but you might know. And last but not least, Fabrizio Abinante from EFSA, welcome. He's the advisory group on data coordinator and the head of unit for the integrated data unit at EFSA. So, and I know Fabrizio for a long time because we started working at EMA a long time ago. Anyway, thank you very much. Thank you all for agreeing to this panel discussion. What we do is that we start presentations. You know the order. I think Akos takes it away at the beginning, and then we see it from there. That will last roughly until 17:35, and then we have enough time for discussions. So, over to you, Akos. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Does it work? Yeah, okay. So, welcome everyone. I'm very happy to be here, and that's a full room today, and I'm very happy for that as well. I would like to give you a very broad and superficial overview of the advisory group on data and what we do here, just to better understand the context of the conference today and tomorrow, to put in place more or less, and also to raise awareness about our activity and to connect the dots between all the other speakers as well. So, as it was mentioned, I work for the University of Veterinary Science. Also, I'm chairing. I have the privilege to chair this group, and let me walk through what AGOD does. So, just a bit of explanation maybe at the beginning that how the whole thing started. And I think one of the important things to realize that we have a growing, or we have a growing complexity of the agri-food production and trade and all of this, and maybe we have a deeper and deeper understanding of that complexity. Also, I use here term complexity as a scientific field, so it's not just complex in everyday terms, but it falls under complex sciences. And this was always in the realm of it's too complex to analyze, it's too complex to handle, let's do simplifications. That's how evolved our area of food science and regulatory science. And then we had more and more data available in the last decades for analysis. And this gave a promise that maybe with more and more data, we will be able to analyze better or to understand better how our food systems work. Also contributed to this the advances of data analytics, computational science, complexity sciences, AI, all of these fields of methodologies which we can grasp complexity also evolved in the last decades. And this really gave a hope that we could be there sometime to understand what happens with the food in our body, for instance. On the top of that, I would say, there is an increasing demand from society, from political sides to also discuss values and costs associated with health, costs associated with risk management, all the ethical considerations, not only of AI, but also food production and many, many connections to socioeconomics and to all other fields. And it was, again, too complex to handle in a way. But with all of these advances in the recent decades, we thought that maybe better decision-making is possible. So let's base our decisions on evidences, on hardcore evidences, and to use wisely our data. So this was, I think, an initial thought that we started to somehow culture and discuss that, okay, what can we do in that field? And I think in 2018, we were discussing at the EFSA Advisory Forum a lot of things, and among others, also how data could be better used. And this is, again, a very didactic and maybe superficial picture of what do we need for a data analysis to happen. We need certainly some data collection systems. We need data models to somehow connect our data to the reality. Also, we need kind of an infrastructure and architecture to manage all the data. And we need data analysis tools. But also, we need data and people And this is, I think, still valid and still important, that in many cases we forget about these very basic and foundational prerequisites, that we still need good data and we still need good people to work with data. And in many years of advances all of these scientific fields, I think we still have a lot of things to improve here in both the areas. So how the activity started was that in 2018, a task force was formed by the Advisory Forum of EFSA. It was called Data Collection and Data Modeling Task Force. And we had several meetings in 2018 and 19. Then COVID started. We produced a report in the first online meetings, which we had. And this was quite a nice work in many ways. I have a good feeling and good memories about it. We produced nice graphs, which I think are still fine. There you could see on the top left corner a graph representation of all the reporting domains which European food safety authorities need to do through reporting their data to the respective ministries, to EFSA, to Commission, to other parties, and how these data collection or reporting exercises or services should be connected, and most of them are not connected still. But anyway, we produced a report which contained many recommendations for EFSA, for member states, how we envisage the future of data, how this small group envisage the future of data. And the report you could access through this QR code defined also quick wins. And also we decided that maybe this is an area worth exploring deeper and to set up a standing working group continuously working on data-related questions. And this is where the advisory group on data itself started. So it started in 2021. We had 26 meetings so far, which is a lot. And our aim or mission is like you could see a lot. But I think in simple terms, what we want to do is to connect the dots, to connect the people, connect institutions, working with data, share experience, share our ideas or visions, serve as a think tank, also serve EFSA in many ways to develop their data strategy, and to also serve the member states, because it's still a member state-driven organization or group, to hear the member states' voices. Also, I'm coming from a small member state, so also hear the voices of the smaller, maybe less developed member states in this data space. We try to build partnerships, and some of them, or I think most of them on the slide are working pretty well. So we are liaising a lot with the EFSA Advisory Forum. Also, we collaborate, or maybe we could collaborate more with the different data networks, also with the focal points and the focal point networks, and also with EFSA and the European Commission. It is an ongoing and maybe increasing activity in terms of our outreach. But these are our partners. But also we want to, in the future, to work more on the partnerships and maybe become more active in partnering with other organizations even. So how do we work, just to tell you why are we here so many on that stage, is that we decided after a while, after a few discussions and few meetings, that it's very nice to meet up regularly and discuss few things, but always there was a feeling that we could not go deeper because of lack of time, also lack of expertise from our end. So there are a few things which needed to be discussed in more details, in more technical levels, also to channel in more knowledge from member states, also from EFSA. So we decided that maybe let's do some subgroups and leave some of the discussions to these subgroups. So currently we have 4 subgroups working, one on data management, one on tools and ecosystems, one on people and capacity, and one on innovation. And we have an overarching topic on data governance, which is still handled or discussed by the advisory group on data itself. And this network of subgroups and AGOD and all the members of the subgroups should help us in achieving or understanding in the first place what's happening in the data space. What to expect from the future is very briefly, and I think today and tomorrow we will discuss more about this, what can we do in the future. But this is just a short outline that we identified in recent discussions, that these are important things which we want to do or to embrace, like investing still in data generation or in ontologies, or an upcoming field which will be tackled today as well is education and data literacy. But maybe more importantly, or most importantly, is to build networks. And this event of today and tomorrow, I think, is an excellent example of building networks and partnerships. So with this, I would like to finish this very, very brief introduction and thank to all the current members of the advisory group on data and all the support which we get from EFSA and from member states, and to hand over to our next presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Akos, and good afternoon to everybody. So I will go through also a bit of history of AGOT, what we have achieved so far, and also what we are doing now in our second mandate, because we have started the second mandate of AGOT in April 2024. So indeed, the journey started with these recommendations of the Advisory Forum Task Force on Data Collection, with 46 data-related recommendations that Akos explained. Then under the first mandate from 2021 until 2024, we created initially 6 thematic subgroups. We were able only to kick off 4 of them in 2022, and we set up the working rules, so how we can work together between EFSA, the member states, the European Commission, which took quite a while, but I think now we have a good framework of cooperation. And I would say that for me, the key word is partnership, really, because we have created the governance, we have created a way of functioning that is really supporting cooperation and collaboration among EFSA, the member state, of some important data initiatives that will be explained later on by my colleagues. So then in 2023, we expanded the projects on data, and we also started working more in collaboration with the member states via these focal point tailor-made activities, which is a way for EFSA to co-found initiatives with the member states. And we also started discussing the impact of AI and digitalization for the future of AGOT. Then we have revised our term of reference, which was approved in April 2024 by the Advisory Forum. And what we have decided, because it's important also to have a clear roadmap. In the initial mandate, we started few projects, but we didn't have a real roadmap with clear milestones, with clear KPIs, also success KPIs. So we decided to create a clear roadmap for AGOT, and we are actually building this roadmap as we speak. So what we have done, we have indeed split the different we have revised the recommendations, the original recommendations on beginning of 2024, and we have clustered the different recommendations in 5 thematic area. The one that were presented by Akos, so data governance, data management, tools and ecosystems, and also people and capacity, and an overarching innovation thematic area. And for each cluster, we decided to, and for each recommendation, we decided to create a clear list of goals. We had defined concrete actions with a clear scope. We are also defining the timelines and the expected success factors for each action. And we have assigned each, let's say, action and goal to the different subgroups of AGOT, sorry. And but how we are going to achieve these goals and these actions? By means of projects. Those are either EFSA projects or projects within the member states. And also we have created this cooperation and this co-founding of projects via the focal point tailor-made activities. So the idea is really to collaborate, to partner, and also we use this word co-creation of solutions, because let's say we also have a process by which we validate the proposals that are submitted by the member state to EFSA, and if there is a proposal that is, let's say, based on really co-creation and is benefiting more than one member states, actually it got prioritized. So the key word for me is really collaboration and co-creation in the real actual activities we do under AGOD. And this is just a high-level overview of the data roadmap, of the AGOD roadmap we are preparing. As you can see, we have defined a clear mandate for the different clusters. We have key recommendations for each cluster, and for each recommendation, we are defining actions, projects, with the starting date, with the end date, and also with the ownership. So whether we do the action in EFSA, with the Commission, with the member states, or with EFSA and the member state together. So, and the idea is to have for each cluster this roadmap that will guide AGOD in the next 3 years in each data area with clear KPIs and clear projects. I'm not going through the slide in details because it's a long list of recommendations and actions, but this is to give you an idea of what we are trying to achieve here, which is a kind of roadmap for AGOD to monitor also on the progress we are making and also to report on those progress to the advisory forum. So we have a cluster on data management, we have a cluster on innovation, and actually this symposium is, let's say, one of the first actions that we have agreed under the innovation cluster, and the idea is that at the end of this symposium, we will review the actions of the innovation cluster by adding new idea, new projects there. Then we also have a people and capacity cluster where we're going to address, as Akos was saying, data literacy, and also how can we share competencies and knowledge among the different stakeholders in Europe. And then we have a dedicated cluster on tools and ecosystems where we discuss how we can share and co-develop tools within the European food ecosystem area, also together with the Commission and the data providers and the networks that are supporting also the collection of data in EFSA. And as a next step, we are going to table the roadmap, the first version of the roadmap in the advisory forum of December, where we ask the advisory forum to approve the roadmap. But an important concept is that the roadmap will be a living document. So we will keep the roadmap up to date with new projects, new ideas, also coming from the member states. And especially in the innovation cluster, the idea is that after this symposium, we will revise the action in the area of AI innovation, based also on the inputs we will discuss tomorrow. And as I said before, AGOD will use the roadmap as a way to monitor and report on progress of our second mandate. Thank you.
And yes, my name is Dorte Bergesen, and I'm coming from the Technical University of Denmark. And I have had the pleasure to be able to take over the lead of a new subgroup actually coming up. It's a subgroup that have been mentioned and included in the planning all the time, but it hadn't been possible to get it started until now. So what I can present today is a little bit of ideas, a little bit of discussions, and then I can present a big call for getting people to come and help with the work in the people and capacity subgroup. So as we have just heard here, people and capacity is a very important part of the work toward getting the transition of food safety organization into this data-driven setup. As you will find out if you not know it already, I'm not very skilled, I'm not very competent within the area of all these technical issues. And actually, I think I'm a good representative for a lot of people working out in the food safety organizations. So we really, all of us, have a very big challenge, a very big task to get all the good things coming up from the other subgroups, coming up with tools, coming up with new ideas, coming up with new initiatives to get them out in the organization, to get them out started to be a part of what we can call normal life or real work. And for doing that, we have, as Akos also had mentioned in the beginning, we have to, of course, to have all the data, we have to have all the technology, but we also have to have people that can get inspired and that can be able to take up all the things that are presented for them. And to be able to do that, we have to look into what is the capacity of the people, what is their knowledge in the area, and how can we educate them and train them in a way where they would be able to actually get things working. And I think it's very important that we will have discussion about what is the need for knowledge, what is the need of different kind of employees in the organization. Not necessarily all should be very detailed in data science, but also should have some knowledge, and we should build up and identify what is the need, and how can we build bridge between different profiles of the people in the organization. And that discussion about how to make that transition in the employers, in the organization, and of course also in the management group and in the leaders, in order to support and prioritize this getting better knowledge in the people out there. So therefore, we will actually have a work in the group that will be twofold. And in the first step, of course, we should have some people that can inspire and can tell us what is the need of technological understanding, which kind of qualification, which kind of capabilities should the people in this organization have. So we should have people that can give us that kind of information. But in the next step, we should also have people that have be able to look on how do we really implement things, how do we train people, how do we get knowledge built up so that we are going from having something which is only few people working in a scientific context that actually move these scientific content and all the new knowledge out to be a more general part of the work in the organization. And therefore we should have people working with training and education. So what we are calling for right now, because we haven't started, we will start by the beginning of the new year, is that we call for people which have a good technical and scientific understanding on the area, with a practical experience of working with these data areas in the food safety institution. And then on the other hand, we will also like to have call for people who have experience with education in high level areas from academia or other places, and also people that have worked with practical ways of facilitation and going up, making events for training and building up capacity. So actually, I think we are looking for a very broad picture of people, and I think it's important to say that we do not expect to have people that fulfill all these requests, but we hope to have people that fulfill some of them, and then we together can collaborate and hopefully develop good things and good suggestions that we then can suggest for the ARGOT and for the advisory forum and continue to implement the things. So here it's really about the people, the people perspective and the capacity building, but of course in the context of the work which is done within ARGOT. And we will send out a call. We are working on it, and then it will come out here from EFSA very shortly, and we hope to be able to attract a lot of people because it's quite interesting work, I think. And then we will hopefully be able to start in January 2025. Thank you.
So, supposed to press the big green button?
Yeah.
See, it works. Hi everybody, my name is David. I am the leader of the subgroup which is called Tools and ecosystems. This is a merger of two groups, two of the best groups. So I'm kind of lucky, I must say. And I'm going to talk now. So my background is not in science. My background is purely IT. I have been building software my whole life. So this is my passion, I must say. But I do like food science because it has data, and I love data. So this subgroup, well, I'm trying to press the button, and I'm failing. Here we go, see? So this subgroup, as I believe Akash said, we are going to focus on the collaborative development and sharing of tools. We have a long list of things we want to accomplish. We want to serve as a think tank. We want to just drink coffee and talk about all the cool new tech stuff and such. But we also want to focus, and let me take the next one. So we want to focus on making your work easier, because nearly every day I talk to people working in this field, and they are working with old Excel files in old systems. They are trying to actually report data. It takes ages. It's a very hard life, I must say. And we make a lot of plans, and we make strategies, and we think about things, and how should we make this work in a large spectrum, etc., and how should we build this new large platform. We make all these plans, and then life happens. Because this is a very true saying. And I know that all of you have heard the term, life will find a way. You have also heard the best laid plans, but this is my absolute favorite. Culture eats strategy for breakfast. Because we can make all the plans we want to, we can make all the best of recommendations, but if it doesn't make people's lives simpler, they just won't use it, because they want a better everyday working environment. And this is the point of this group. In this group, we are 11 members from different member states and EFSA, and we're all talking about how can we make a better working tools and ecosystem, because nobody can do this alone. It's too large. We need to work together. And I've added a new paragraph in this wording, because we need to foster a cultural shift. Fabrizio spoke about code development. This is a cultural thing. We need to actually be doing it, by learning from our neighbors, from our member states, doing code development. And this is what this group will foster most of all, a cultural shift towards this greater collab. And that was all I had, actually. I'll give it to you, Eva.
Well, now I have to sell you the sexiest topic in the evening, right? And which is, is it still possible after hearing David Foster? So my first slide is missing, and I'm starting with the second. Well, while planning this small speech, I was wondering, and maybe you do too, why do we still discuss data management? I mean, we worked with the aid of European tax money with EFSA and member states for years and years in getting better data collections, and still we discuss topics of data management. Why do we? Well, the answer is really simple. Data management is the basis for achieving good data. And we're not speaking about anymore about just data life cycles, data collections. We're speaking now of the linkage, findability, availability of data. And this is also relevant because we have new data analysis approaches coming up, and therefore we need good data. Well, I could start now, right? Because this is the most important thing I had to say. Good data will lead to better analysis results. I'd like to, I need to also push the green button. So this is just, as you know data management is a framework of a wide range of concepts and terms. I've listed some, but you know them all. And the latest are the FAIR principles, about 8 years old. And the work of my subgroup will shed light on some of those issues. And I hope, with regard to European data collections, but also with regard to the interests. Still, we're talking about the interests in these data collections from the risk management and the risk assessment perspective. My subgroup was formed of, I think, also very attractive subgroups in the former times, which is data quality, and the one of the catalogs, led by a very nice French colleague. And I'm having there EFSA and 9 member states, and I'm very happy to have colleagues from 4 scientific networks as well. So I think this mixture is very promising, and I'm very happy to seeing you here in Parma. I have now prepared, but I think I leave this for your silent notice. I have made a list of the most important topics on the next slide, which I show you here, and this is that we still. Okay, I give a brief overview. We still, because we have some time left, right? We still discuss data quality, and we do still need to invest key performance indicators to measure data quality, to monitor it. We do need to integrate the consumption data perspective and requirements, because we'd like to look for new approaches for the collection of food consumption and food composition data to make them also interoperable with the controls data. Furthermore, we need to discuss need to find out the existing terms and control terminologies and all of the data collections that appear. I know that you know, and we all know, that there are many systems, European-wide systems, with different data collections in it. We do not know until now, I think, and that's a huge structurational process. We do not know which terms are used in any data collection and where is this data exactly. So we need to find out that it's possible to link the data, and also to discuss whether or not the data needs to be linked. I know that you know that EFSA and Commission started, for example, with the IMSOC system. Their Food X2 catalog is implemented, but we're just on the beginning. On the strategical level, and that's on the, I don't know, it's at the right side, right? No, on the left side. On the strategical level, we still need to discuss the strategical data model on food safety, and because it might have consequences, and we need to know what do we want, which data need to be linked, which data not. And finally, and that's I think it's also a very big challenge, is that since we like to increase the reuse of data between the domains of official and monitoring data, EFSA and member states should still liaise with the Commission to seek to better understand their strategical data models underlying, for example, the IMSOC system or others. Now, I think my first So this is my first slide. This is the one you've seen already. And then I'd like to finish with this picture because it is what we do. After the next 2.5 years, I feel and hope that all knowledge is structured like this honeycomb. That's it.
Thank you, Eva. And just finishing up the series of the subgroups, I think Eva and David described in a very picturesque way the kind of the pain which we felt and feel in the member states during our data collection and reporting exercises. And it's not only about EFSA. We do reporting for all other parties and translating and transforming the data, recoding, all of these. It was one of the key initiators of all advisory group on data. So mainly the pain, I would say. And now I want to talk about the innovation subgroup, which is maybe not on the other end of this spectrum, but it's still, I think, this part of the spectrum where we want to indulge ourselves into the cool new tech and the new solutions and find out how they could help us in achieving this objective of having structured knowledge at the end of the day and to make our evidence-based decisions possible. And the innovation subgroup was, the former name of the subgroup was Subgroup on Innovative Data Analytic Tools and New Data Sources. But the point is here that we have to embrace, or we have to accept, that data analysis is not at the end of this whole process only. So we have everything happening before, and then there is the data, please analyze and have insight. But also the analysis tools and techniques shall inform or shall somehow influence the whole data collection and data wrangling exercise which is happening before. So with opening up new analysis tools, it's opening up the space of the questions what we can ask and how we can ask, which shall also influence what data and metadata shall we collect and how shall we transform to be able to then do the analysis. So it's not a linear process, but it has a lot of feedback mechanisms, or should be. And this was the idea behind that we need a discussion forum where we could discuss how new tools, and it's not only AI, and it's not only about large language models, but all the AI methodologies, but also other data analytical or computational science tools which we want to use, how they could influence the way how we think about food systems, way how we think about data science, the way how we think about questions which we could ask, and this should, in an ideal scenario, continuously improve our ability to generate knowledge and to improve science. So this is how the group was formed. And we have also a lot of objectives to fulfill here. But I think the point is, again, that we want to list and share experience with new data analytical tools, also new or unconventional data sources, which both very hard to define. Obviously, it's very context dependent, what is new or novel. But still, I think it makes sense to discuss these in terms of food science or regulatory science perspective and to learn from each other. We had several meetings in the past. Last year, we defined more than 40 project ideas in the space of data analytics, which could be brought forward. Five of them was brought towards or forward to Advisory Group on Data and Advisory Forum for funding. And also this year, what we continued with is to discuss how data analytics, including AI, could help us in achieving all those objectives. So we mapped a lot of ideas, again, more related to AI, machine learning, large language models, also network science, all of these, in order to facilitate the discussions what we can do in the future. we also developed or co-developed the roadmap, which you saw before, and this is what we are going to do in our subgroup, to discuss more and more about all these tools and solutions, which again, informing all the other member states, not only in our subgroup, but the idea would be to inform everyone about these possibilities, opportunities, and how to proceed with this. So again, thanks for all the members of this subgroup and the support from EFSA. And I hope that maybe not immediately and directly, but we can somehow alleviate this pain or the feeling of pain by also discussing cool things. So thank you very much.
Wow, what a discipline. 15 minutes early. That leaves us enough time between now and what's beyond these doors, which is the posters and the cocktails. I'm going to hold sort of, you know, you need to go through me here. No. Okay. Now you've heard about AGOT, what AGOT does, what AGOT focuses on, what the plans are for the future, plus where it comes from. And the floor is open to questions, to suggestions, to interaction. Please. And here we go already. First, Paul. Thank you, Aurora. There as well. Well, we didn't have any. I just had to choose one.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, please, Paul, go ahead.
Akos, yeah, I saw something very interesting on the roadmap in innovation, which was unusual data sources. Is that far enough along that you can report a bit from the working party that's working on looking at unusual data sources? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I was hoping that this question comes up because this is generating a lot of discussion, what is unusual or unconventional in this setting. And our working definition would be the data which are not primarily collected for like regulatory science or risk assessment purposes or outside the food science domain. And what we discussed in this regards, some of these data sources could be data coming from dietary applications, so the apps where people trace their eating habits and all the food consumed, all the nutritional values and quantities. And maybe some of these data in some settings could be used for monitoring or collecting data on food consumption. So this was one area. The other area, what we discussed is data linked to food fraud, which is not falling under the scope of EFSA or not only under EFSA scope, but data from industry, data from other industries, economical data, which could be used to trace or to anticipate fraudulent activities. And the third topic which we discussed was traceability data and blockchain data, which you could say that it's a conventional data in the food science settings, but maybe not for risk assessment. So it's more a risk management data source currently, but we saw an opportunity there to also channel in assessing or predicting some of the risks through traceability data, and also blockchain, which is kind of a buzzword here, but it's maybe not that important. But I think we still not explored everything. So it was just few discussions. So this is the direction. But we need to have more discussions in the subgroup on different other data sources. Obviously, there are some which are currently used by EFSA and by member states, like satellite images. So this is maybe more conventional now. But there are also other data sources coming from other authorities, for instance, other authorities of member states who we are not liaising with yet, but still might have valuable data for tracing food components or having knowledge about food composition or food consumption. And this is a big area to explore still. Thank you.
Thank you. And the gentleman in the fourth row.
Very much. So maybe a question for whoever really feels like answering. What is an AI Lighthouse project? Who wants to take that one?
Shall you or shall I? Okay, I start. So AI Lighthouse project. This was a term coined or used by some of our advisory forum discussions when the common agreement was sort of say that besides doing smaller projects on AI, solving some particular problems and doing the usual stuff in terms of how you develop algorithms or softwares to identify a problem, to address the problem, and so on, let's make also bold project ideas. So big project ideas which would attract, by their gravity, would attract interest, also maybe funding, and also brain power. So these are the bold, big shots in terms of AI. So these are lighthouse projects. Some of the areas which we identified was obviously refining or training large language models on food science knowledge corpus, also ontology building, also involving more in systematic literature review, aided or guided or done by AI, mainly generative AI. So all of these big ideas, but they are still not defined yet, and this is what we want to work on. Addition, maybe?
Anybody else?
Yes, perhaps also there is also the dimension of time span. So I think Lighthouse is looking at that, let's say 4 or 5 years time, not in the short term. So we really are trying to understand what are the direction we want to take in using AI in the food safety ecosystem area. So it's also that, you know, the time frame is a bit longer than the actual short-term use cases. Is more or less what we have seen before with the FDA presentation. They have clear 2 goals that they are trying to achieve in the use of AI in the safety assessment.
Thank you. And we have more questions. Very good.
Okay, so thank you very much. I have a question. Maybe I don't understand, but these unusual data sources, or what you said, for me, it's like only data, because I'm coming from fundamental computer science group. And maybe like tomorrow, I would like to invite you to see the first food large language model, which is tuned with isotope traceability data, to link to all different ontologies that can be used for food. So it's not like AI Life's big, bold project, but it's a simple work we have done in our computer science group. And tomorrow you can have like opportunity to see like the first food large language model, how it works, and how like the other models, they don't work. But my question is, why we are separating, like if EFSA is only interested in food consumption in relation to food composition data, because currently like in this data management, everything should be treated as graph-like. There are relations between data, like you can go like from phenotype, food consumption data, to the molecular level, to the gene data and everything. For example, if you want to do like, let's say, if here we have like people from chemistry, but if you want to have like, let's do a recipe with the same taste, probably the objective function for computer scientists is the chemical structure, the molecular, to be the same, right? And then we need somehow to find a way, so we need to link data from food consumption level to molecular level. And this is possible, and this is what computer science people are already doing. Maybe still this is not communicating with EFSA and so on, but also I would like to say that there is a really nice, chapter, like survey paper, which is coming, neurosymbolic analysis for food computing, which is United States, Japan, Europe, all possible groups that have done like this survey of innovations that are happening now. Thank you.
Maybe I can comment on this a little bit. It's just, I mean, it's one of our examples. I mean, we have the operational level, I feel, there, and there are data collections European-wide and collected by EFSA and prepared by member states. And this is the one with a high data quality standard, I feel. And then we have the strategical and the nice ideas and the big blue ideas, whatever, yeah. On this other level where we have those huge other data domains that can be involved in analytics. It's not an exclusion, it's just an example for our microcosmos here with our data collections to get them more and more connected. And furthermore, there's the other cosmos as well. And that's what we think, I think, in ARCOS group with, and then we cooperate and see how those ideas fit together in maybe a food safety data model that we're still discussing on a strategical level. Maybe this answers your question. So we're not just in our bubble. Thanks Thanks for this hint.
Yeah, thank you, Eva. And I think that's very important that you raise this question, because this is indeed the intention of this symposium, that there are words of computer scientists and there is the word of food scientists and veterinarians, which is again a different bubble, I could say. And we want exactly these discussions, that to know about what the others are doing, and maybe some of the problems are already solved. I know that some of them are already solved, but I want to bring them here and to be discussed. And also about the novel data sources, I completely agree. This is just data, but the exact intention of mentioning unconventional data is to raise awareness, to go out of our comfort zone and our silos and to see, okay, there are maybe data there, still data, but for our food and veterinary and biologist and chemist minded brains, it is important to discuss how we could go outside of our comfort zone. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. Wow, excellent. More and more. Good.
I think my question relates to the previous two ones, of Will and of the gentleman before me. I heard a comment from a colleague recently stating that food science is a case-based science. And I come from medical sciences. That was the same thing in that sense. And we tackled it by not only opening up data sets, but also benchmarking, having grand challenges, and that's really helped pushing the agenda forward for the entire community. This is, of course, not invented by medical sciences, it comes from computer science, but I think we can adapt to that scenario as well. So I would be interested in your comments on that.
It's on. Okay, thank you. I think, and again, I'm a little bit on a thin ice breaking here, but I think that what you suggest now is actually some of the things that we are looking for in the new working group, or subgroup, because what we would like to is very much to facilitate some hackathons, some working groups, some seminars where people from different parts of this society is brought together and try to identify how they can support each other and how we can see what is already known in one area but could help in another, and vice versa, to build bridges. So I'm also looking for people that can facilitate this kind of building bridge between these different kind of knowledge societies, because we should learn from each other and we should be able to get knowledge implemented also in the area that we are working with closely here, but also to expand the area that we are working with.
Thank you. There were more hands, please.
Yeah, working in the field of biological or microbiological risk assessment, Dr. You will recognize what I say. The main problem in doing our risk assessment is a little bit ahead of management, data management. It's the actual data available. And to that extent, I think, at least in our field, there's a lot of data available in industry. Sometimes good and sometimes not as good. So my question, I think, is: do you see any potential with AI to solve that? Because from my experience, the problems are usually around confidentiality and legal issues. So I was very interested to hear this morning about the sandbox solution, and would like to hear a little bit more about that. But my question is, can you see, I mean, could you train our models not on the internet anonymously, but could we train them on anonymous industry data and to get models that kind of reflect different aspects of food safety? Because in my field, I think that's a main, I mean, every risk assessment we finish off by data gaps, and that's always a long list. And the problem is not really how that was managed, or if it was in Excel files or whatever, because we take whatever we can get. So I really appreciate addressing this problem, and I'm curious to see your thoughts about the legal and confidentiality aspects of, and if AI could be a solution to some of those problems. Thank you.
Shall I start? Okay. Yeah. No. Okay, I start. So thank you very much. And I think this is one of the big questions which we didn't manage to address, nor in EFSA or Advisory Group on Data. There are other initiatives around, like the heads of European food safety agencies had an initiative of gathering industry data and analyzing the data. And this is something which we shall have on our agenda, how to address this question, because in terms of orders of magnitude, industry data is far, far more collected. So in quantities, it's 2, 3, 4 orders of magnitudes more than the authorities collect data. So this is something which we want to address. The other thing is that tomorrow there will be a subgroup chaired by Dorte, in fact, I think, on exactly this, how to share models, algorithms, federated learning, and all of this. And I would encourage you to visit there. I know more or less what the presenters will be talking about, and I think in some way it addresses this question. We still do not have a solution for that, but I think we have kind of right tools, and also we are getting there that we also have kind of good procedures or guidelines how to overcome this confidentiality, privacy issues as well. So this would be discussed tomorrow, I think. Anyone to add? No one. Okay, then this is it.
Okay. Further questions?
Can I just add something here? I think like what you were asking is called like multi-view, multitask continual learning. And this is related to the first presentation when we said that the model, it's not static, but it should be evolvable. So this is the life cycle of how the model should be built.
Thank you. Gentleman in front.
Thank you. Adriano Di Pasquale, IZS from Italy. My question is about a label that is always I'm seeing in many presentations. It's One Health. I would like just to understand, and here for this advisory group can be related to many things, maybe data management, also maybe tools. I guess if you are in contacting with other, agencies, because sometimes this data from EFSA side alone can be, complemented with the other ones in order to have additional values. So if you are considering this kind of labeled One Health.
Thank you very much. Do you want?
Yes, thank you for the question. Indeed, we are also starting collaborating more and more with other agencies in the area of One Health. Especially, we have created a task force on One Health now, and we are also discussing how we can cooperate better in the area of data sharing, and also there we have the issue of reuse of data and accessibility of data. So we also engaged recently with the European Commission, Santé, to discuss how we can share data amongst the EU agency, UMV agencies. And in the area of chemicals, you know that there is a legislative proposal being now under discussion at European Parliament level, and we are expecting to be approved beginning of next year, which is going to set up a European common data platform for chemicals. And there we will be obliged to share the data with other agencies around all chemicals data. And I'm expecting also this project to be then fed into the AGOT discussion. So at the moment it's not in the radar, but for sure it will become one of the topics in the data management and also tools and ecosystems. So indeed, more data sharing with other agencies is expected under the One Health umbrella, and also especially in the chemicals area.
Anybody else there? No? Then in the back.
Yeah, I'm Vikas Kumar from the Federal Research Institute of Risk Assessment, Germany. We have a project that's called PARC. I think many of you have heard about that. It's a large project in the chemical risk assessment, and it's a 400 million project. So some of the questions that you are raising and many of the data-related issues are also addressed there. My question to the panelist is that you are looking for some project and the success story. Are you talking with that project where we are also taking many of these a small project, a large project, and trying to address some of these questions? And there are some ready-made projects and the success story already there. So is the panel or the subgroup are going to contact with them? I mean, it's a huge investment that European Commission has done there, 400 million. So I think that should be used there. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for raising the question. We don't have a formal connection to PARC, but this is something which, through our members and obviously through EFSA, we are indirectly engaging. But exactly this is the kind of activity what I was talking about that in the next phase. I think as advisory group on data and the subgroup matures, we need to establish more connections to such initiatives as PARC. But there are also others which we invited to some of our meetings to explain their work and how it could connect to some of our tasks or ideas. But thank you for raising this. Indeed, this is something which we need to do more, I think. Thank you.
So just one last comment on that, you know, that you're looking for the people and the training part, you know, and we are already doing that part, you know, training the huge, I mean, the large number of the lab technician people to do the data management and also many of these. So there is a full strategy there, and people are already doing that training part. So maybe we can check that module and how we are doing, and there is a good team of the FAIR data guys there, and they're already working on that, how to implement that in the chemical risk assessment. So that can be also a good example to see.
And then also thank you for that. And that's a good example because we really know that there's a lot of activities out there. There's a lot of projects. And of course, PARC is one of the bigger ones, and we are involved in that, and DTU as well. So we have a contact into that. But what I will hope is that when we now send out the call for getting good people to come up and sign up for the new working group, that you share it with your colleagues. If you know that they are working with some similar activities, not necessarily because they have to go into one more working group and put more tasks on their own desk, but it will be nice also to have it as a start of a mapping about actually what is going on out there. And I think that we maybe have to do some more wording on our call to include that perspective in addition to the concrete call for members.
Thank you, and EFSA is certainly an observer in PARC as well, so we're also aware what's going on. Are there any other questions to the panel? Please.
Thank you. My question is perhaps for the people in capacity subgroup. I'm used to manage and collect feedback by stakeholder in different working group, and someone is questioning that AI might be not really inclusive as approach as a technology. And when mapping the food safety system in my country, one of the constraint that competent authority reported is a constraint in resources in terms of person month and money allocated to their activities and overload due to their strict mandate. So my question is this group also planning to cope with this sometimes lack of inclusiveness of the technology? I heard about training, building awareness, knowledge sharing. Do you plan also to see at the level of at least of the member state and competent authorities, where are the gaps and provide some recommendation about reallocating or allocating more resources to enable everybody to implement this kind of technologies? Thank you.
I think that we will try to do our best to get around all those questions coming up which will have both the identification of knowledge gap, but of course also to have the barriers for this to be actually implemented, and that's a little bit what I tried to say, that that I can see that we have to identify what is actually needed for people out in the different organizations at different levels. For me, I see some different profiles that not everyone have to have very deep knowledge, but everyone have to have some knowledge and have to include it. And those profiles, the identification of that will include a discussion about at what is the position where these have to be implemented, and what is the barrier to do that. I can't tell you right now what we will do in practice, because we will have to have a lot of discussions in the beginning of the work in the working group. But of course, everything we got an input about, try to include this. That will help us.
Yes, just I conclude, my suggestion is to take into account not just knowledge gap, but sometimes it's a gap in appropriate infrastructure and investment in data management. I know that it's not your duty to allocate fund, but perhaps some recommendation to elicit this in the risk manager or our ministry. Thank you.
The overall heading of the group is to try to support that the organization come towards being more data-driven and to involve and include all these kind of things. And your pointing out here is a part of that discussion.
No, we have another question here. Thank you very much. We have enough time, so please feel free to think of more.
Thank you. Maybe you already said these things, but it was not clear for me. Is an activity of the advisory group to create like a map of the existing projects in this area or existing tools? Because I had many questions about, I am already working on this project, I'm doing already this kind of activities. So is one of your intention to create a map of what are existing tools and projects out there?
I think is one of the action that we have to create a mapping of the different, let's say, food safety capabilities, and also availability of resources in the different countries. And the idea is to expand the tool that EFSA has created around organizational competencies that we have launched many years ago. And indeed is one of the action that you will find in the roadmap.
Please, Antonio.
Can I also add something, Nick? I think we were a bit struggling in kicking off the people and capacity subgroups. That I think it's one of the most, let's say, theme that has a lot of interest. So this is really reassuring me. I think we will have perhaps many volunteers.
Which brings me to my question. Sorry, Antonio, just very quickly. No, keep yours in petto. But for people that are interested, because clearly there are many people that are interested, that want to join, that want to help, that want to get involved, what can they do? They need to ask the advisory forum member, they need to approach you directly, obviously they can talk to you further, but what do you advise people to do that want to get involved?
Yes, right now they are very welcome to come and discuss. And as you understand, we are very much in the beginning stage right now. We have had some meetings with Arcos and with Andrea and EFSA staff in order to formulate a call and to also not only to describe what we really need from more scientific and technical point of view, but also what is the formal setting up of these working groups. And there will come out a formal call, and as I understand, it will come out to the advisory forum and to the focal point, and probably also to the networks. Yeah, it's sneaking up here, so that's the right way. And then afterwards, of course, we will ask everyone that are interested to reply on that and to write what they really want to contribute with, because we want to put down a working group which had a broad presentation of people and knowledge. So that will be the line from now, I think, and it will come out here, before Christmas, that I understood.
Thank you. Antonio, please.
Thank you. Antonio Ciccarelli, Fisheries Control Agencies, but also former Food Safety Authority. My question is, so we have seen you are collecting data and also trying to collect innovative data, diverse data, as Paul was saying before. But are you also thinking to build a foundation model, joining all the knowledge and forces, collaborating also with other agencies like the FDA?
Thank you very much. This is in the plans. So in the governance section, we have exactly an activity related to this, to build partnerships or to collaboratively engage ourselves with other similar working groups of other agencies, whether in Europe or other parts of the world. So this is, like as I said, this was a small member state-driven initiative which grew big enough to now being more formalized and reaching out to other similar institutions or organizations or working groups in order to finally, maybe it's more of a vision than an achievable objective, to achieve a knowledge corpus on food science related terms and also data and so on. But for this we need the partners from other organizations, because it's very interrelated obviously, and also to learn from others, and maybe we could share something with others as well. Yes, it is in our plans. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other question? While I leave you thinking about that, I want to bring David in also and ask, any of the lighthouse projects involve your group?
I'm sorry, it's on.
You know, the lighthouse project that we talked about, but any project that involve your group that you want to highlight?
The mapping tool, of course, but again, so I want to highlight the tools that make people's everyday work simpler, and the mapping tool is such a good example of that, because and I'm going to use the right term now, it's called a tailor-made activity. We started a couple of tailor-made activities, and we started one called data mapping tool, actually two projects, pre-study and a running project. And this is a tool, this is an AI-based tool that can automatically map national data sets to the EFSA standard. And that's going to simplify the work for a lot of people. And we have done a pre-study. We have a poster outside. Italy has actually done a working tool called the Sigma-S. They also have a tool outside, or a poster outside. And these are the kinds of tools I really want to highlight, because there are not only these kind of lighthouse projects, like this can shine a light over the whole of Europe, but they are also tools that makes people's lives easier. And I've said that about 10 times now. It's really, really important, because people struggle. We all have a lack of funding. We all have a lack of resources. So we need to build tools just to make our everyday simpler. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any other questions? Yes, please.
Sorry, but it was interesting, the context of the mapping. So I'm wondering if you are somehow related with the food-on activities. There is a tool, LexMapper, that is use more or less the AI for mapping, and is part of the FDA part for the food labeling.
Related, no. Read about it, yes. But no contact, no. Is this on? Yeah.
Thank you. There's another question.
Yeah, I think now we are going more in the technical discussion. So I have one technical question. You've been talking about the ontology, that's one of the goals that we want to build for the food science. Have you mapped or scoped the food science ontology? What are the different subgroup or the subdomain of the food science that we want to, or lacking? So have you have that scoping done already, or is it the part of this study group? Yeah, thank you.
We did have an ontology study that we ran in EFSA last year, but it was really EFSA-centric. It was really, okay, how can we use a ontology to support the use of AI within the, the data collection framework that is in the scope of EFSA. And when we arrived at the time to say, okay, let's go ahead or not, actually, I was kind of pushing to have a broader discussion, not, I mean, also the idea of AGOD, why we have created AGOD. If you allow me, Nick, to spend 1 second on this why. I think AGOD is really the place where we listen to the needs of the member states. So AGOD is not where EFSA or the Commission are telling the member states, this is the way you should report data to us. It's really, listening to the needs of the member states, the pain points, the problems, and find common solution. Create common tools that can also, again, can make your life easier. So also for the ontology, instead of having an EFSA-centric view, I think it's really nice if we have this discussion within the different subgroups and also listen to your needs, what you are doing also in the countries, about ontologies, and also create something together, because ontologies also has to be maintained, and there is a cost for creating an ontology, but also if we don't maintain ontologies, they become really irrelevant after a few weeks. So I think ontologies will be one of the theme of tomorrow, and my interest is really in understanding whether we could do something together, member state, EFSA, the Commission, where we really need ontology, because ontology will be used by AI. And so this is where I would like to have the discussion. Can we do something, again, together in a partnership approach?
Thank you. There's a question in the back. You wanted to? There's already a push for a cocktail. Yes, I release you in 5 minutes.
Thank you very quickly. Are you addressing...
We only started at 4.
Are you addressing the reliability of the data as well, jointly to each value? I'm asking because within another project on pharma, together with industry, we have issues related to this, because in the case of safety authorities, they do require a kind of score related to reliability in terms of claims, in terms of credit. So are you joining the value with the uncertainty and reliability of the value?
I start answering, and yeah, yes and no. This is an inherent part of everything what we do with data, or the data, metadata, uncertainties, all of these things. However, AGOD in itself, as a member state-driven discussion group, we will not handle any of this, obviously. But what we can do, and also, in fact, did in the past and plan to do in the future as well, to promote ideas or small projects which could improve some of these aspects, or to introduce some new thinking or new tools into handle uncertainties. Also, representativity is a problem. So we had a project which was supported by Advisory Group on Data, funded by EFSA, on how sampling strategies will influence the representativity of the data, and how risk-based samplings could be coupled with objective sampling, so random samplings, and what would it mean for representativity, and also ultimately for data quality and usability for data analysis. So this is what AGOD is supposed to do, to facilitate ideas or projects or initiatives which would help in solving such problems, and also to bring in experience from other projects, like the project you mentioned. So if there is any knowledge or experience on that, we would be happy to distribute among AGOD members and also in a broader community. Thanks. Eva, nothing to add.
Thank you very much. And there is a popular demand for cocktails. So first of all, let me thank the panel, and I think you can join me in... Thank you very much to all of you. And no doubt you will also still be available. Secondly, some housekeeping, which is first and foremost, tomorrow we start at 9. Just that everybody takes that away with them. 9 o'clock tomorrow we start again. And we now have 2 hours of cocktail reception networking with 7 posters. So we're not hitting you hard with 40 or 60 posters. It's 7 posters where there will be 2 rounds of people being available to answer your questions, etc. So I think it's a very nice way of going through with your cocktails and also finding out. And David, thank you very much for the advertisement, for the data mapping tools, etc. That was very good. And last but not least, before I let you go, this is unscripted. I'm the sort of person when they use, and you know, the word data, if I had €1 for every time it was used, I would be a rich man by now this afternoon. And I'm the sort of person that at some stage, because English is my second language, checks out where it comes from. Who can tell me the origin of the word data? Huh? So, huh? Yes, Latin is very good. Very good. And plural of datum means a thing given, and given is what was used, the thing that was given to base the calculations on. Excellent, Fabrizio. I'm glad you're ahead of unit I data. So he passed that test, and you passed the test through the door into the networking cocktail. Thank you very much for your attention this afternoon.